Hello, listeners of Channel 6 Jovian Radio. As always, I'm here, and you're there, wherever there may be. As some of you may know, today is Sector AU1's New Year. I tend to count our years based off AU1. A lot of us past AU 2.5 do. My chronometer over here has a few different counters, so it seems like we're about 40 minutes out from another revolution around the sun for Terra. Tonight, my plans mostly consist of a warm cuppa, some shows I picked up on my last supply trip back to Juno Station, and a cozy up in bed. I've been getting some listener write-ins recently, which honestly almost shocked the socks off me. Remember I posted a secondary comm line to Demeter's storage bank, and I decided to check it last cycle. I think I might leave a prompt at the end of my show if y'all would like me to read some of your letters here. For now, I'd like to take a little break, grab some tea and a blanket, and I'll be back shortly to give a little celebration for the new year. For reference, my chronometer is centered on the North Pole of Terra, so that's when I'll be hopping back on. See y'all soon! Hello everybody, and welcome back to our Let's Play. As you can see behind me right now, there is, number one, a beach, and number two, no trees. And that is because today I have decided to start our episode with Terraforming Ganymede. Let's go! Okie dokie, here we are, working on the beach. I only recorded half of it because the other half I mostly was just staring at it and then trying to figure out what little hills I wanted to add. But here is the start of our beach for kind of transitioning from the water that I terraformed and then into some more stuff that I want to work on. And then I started just demolishing all of the trees. This is usually what I do when I am working on a big area. I'm probably going to put a lot of the greenery back. I just want to get started on that kind of custom terrain that I was talking about, I think last episode. And another thing that I was actually thinking about for this episode is extending our tree search lab, but into the valley here, kind of tying into the sort of hab center idea that we've got going on, so I'm gonna enclose it all into domes. And then I went and moved on to actually working on this custom terrain, and I will disclose that I was definitely inspired by the terrain job that Mumbo Jumbo has been doing on the Hermitcraft server recently with these sort of pillars. But kind of what I was thinking of was that these are some sort of basalt pillars that have been worked into the terrain. And I wanted to show this because I thought that it would be an interesting way of showing how terrain was quickly built up over the years that the terraforming was being done. Because basalt in the real world it does form in these pillars. And they're done by the rapid cooling of lava, which I think would actually be a really interesting explanation of how these cliffs were built up by humans. To create these nice stepped pillars that they could build on, I think it would be a really interesting idea if all of the cliffs that are actually being built on were designed out of some sort of synthetic basalt that was able to be built up quickly. I think that the mountains behind here are less so. They would be more like the original natural crater that I'm imagining or that we're building in. I'm thinking that this is that the cove itself is a giant moon crater, and that's what everything we're building in this cove is inside of, but that these smaller, more stepped ideas are man-made. And that's kind of what I was going for with these pillars. And again, thanks for the inspiration, Mumbo. I really like how they turned out. I decided to go for more of a warm idea because basalt in real life does tend to lean more on the warm side, like granite. But here we go. Alright, I haven't drawn anything in a while, so why don't we take a look at this, at what I was working on after I finished those few little pillars, because I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do at first, but then after I got those pillars in, I kind of got some better ideas, and I haven't drawn a while on this series, which is odd because that's kind of the point. But here is my drawing for what I'd like the rest of this little cove to look like. I hope this is clearer now, and why don't we get back to building? So, I don't know if you can tell, but I got a little bit carried away, and I tore out pretty much the entire valley. And this probably looks a little bit crazy, but honestly, I love digging in Minecraft. It's like one of my favorite things. I just sit, I put on a movie, and I dig. And I just find it fun for some reason. So, this is why we've now got a much flatter valley that I have all of the ability to build on here. And it's also hollow underneath because that's where I've been getting all of my dirt to fill in the top. As well as I'm just kind of always in need of dirt, which is weird. I guess because I build with mud sometimes? Yeah, that makes sense. I just kind of copied over the design that we've got going on with the stepped pillars there on the side by the bone meal farm there. And I just kind of continued that around the entirety of the valley here. And these will give me awesome little spots to build on, as well as I think the next thing I want to get into is working on that expansion of the tree search lab. And I'm actually pretty glad that I dug out the bottom, because I think what I'm going to do is actually embed that bit in the ground, as if it was there before the nice lush area around it was there. So it kind of like grew around the tree search lab. And I'm almost finished up with the build here, so I think I'm just going to hand you over to some finishing music, and I will see you in a minute back in the world. I don't know if you can tell, but there's something different about this place. First of all, it's turned into a pale oak plantation. And second of all, we have cliffs now. I also added in a little staircase because it was really annoying to go around this side. So here's a little staircase. And I am pretty terraformed out. So I think the next thing I'm gonna do is make a wither skeleton farm. And that is because I am sick and tired of not having a beacon. And we can get a beacon before we get to the dragon fight. And I want to hold off on the dragon fight, I think, until episode 20. And even then, I think I'm going to do like a bit of a no wings club kind of idea, because I like the elytra, but I find that once I get it, I don't enjoy my world quite as often. I like being able to walk everywhere on here, and it's kind of nice just being able to use the paths the way that they were intended. I mean, you can if you're wearing wings, it's just not as common. So I'd like to pop into the nether for now. And you'll notice something that I did in the meantime as well while I was in a flow. We have a brand new nether tunnel. And at the end of this tunnel is a nether fortress inside a soul sand biome. And that is the best spot to make a wither skeleton farm because the least amount of mobs spawn in a soul sand valley. Also, hello from the new sprite setup. I did just want to shoehorn this in because I think it's really cool because it actually demonstrates how Demeter works gravity-wise. I finally figured it out, how to draw it. So now it is drawn and I have satisfied my hatred of random gravity not making sense on spaceships. Thank you. At the end we've just got Skulk as we usually do, but behind here is the fortress. And I will just dig for you here. This wall is entirely man-made. I just like, because of those guys, to block off around where I'm building these tunnels. We're gonna need some fire res. But yeah, the first thing that I'm gonna do is find the bounding box here, which is the entirety of the space where the fortress is. Oh, I got soul speed on. And for the record, I am gonna use a schematic that I have in my back pocket. It's an old wither skeleton design. I will try my best to find the one that I used and put it in the description. I can actually do that now, because I have enough content. What am I doing? I'm leaving my boat behind. Because I do have enough content that they know that I'm a real person, so I can leave links now, which is awesome. So I will try and find one that I think is the same and credit that person. Because I 100% know I didn't create it. It's just a schematic that I have of when I built it. I just took a schematic of it and shoved it in my pocket. If you haven't noticed, I am not a redstone YouTuber, so these segments are always a little bit boring to watch because I don't actually make most of the farms. Obviously I make some of them, as I've talked about when I do. This is not one of them. It's just kind of boring to watch. So here's me building a little bit. I decided to just kind of make a tunnel up towards the ceiling and then blast a hole through the nether roof, which I am doing here, which was the most time-consuming part of the entire project. It took, I think, over an hour versus just going through my schematic was, I don't know, like 15 minutes. It wasn't very hard. Plus I had all of that netherrack from digging out the tunnels, right? So I just chucked that in the super smelter, and that's how I got all of the nether bricks to make the floor. That does actually have to be nether brick when you're working with wither skeletons. It does need to be nether brick, that's important. And yeah, so then I moved on to building the actual thing. Here's the platform that I was working on. I was just going from a schematic, so it's really not very interesting. I almost got massacred by a ghast. That was not fun. And then I was trying to figure out how to get an iron golem in there, and for some reason I couldn't figure out how to get the iron golem to spawn. I don't know what was going on, but it just wasn't spawning. So I ended up just kind of making one and nudging it in there. Here's the collection chamber. I have no idea how this mechanic works. It works because Shulkercraft says it does. And it does, so congratulations to them. I don't know how it works. Bye. And would you look at that? Alright. I don't have looting on my sword, so we'll see how long it takes. Oh! Haha! We did it. Okay. Now I'm just gonna AFK here for a while and see if we can get 3, maybe 9, if I have the time. See, we already got 2. Alright. Okay, I'd like to start by saying that that is the most efficient farm I think I've ever used, like, of any farm ever, not even just wither skeletons. This took me probably another 5 minutes from what I recorded. So I did find the exact farm that was in my Lightmatica schematics. It is the farm from Shulkercraft from about 4 years ago. It's linked in the description if you guys would like to use it. It's awesome. Go check it out. Now, I am on the bottom side of the nether roof somewhere. I've found a suitable spot after a lot of digging. And we are gonna just suffocate this guy in the roof because I'm a wimp. I believe it is 3 blocks down, so 1, 2, 3. One, two. I'm a wimp. 3. Okay, awesome. Okay. Now we just wait. And we got our lovely little achievement here. So let's go. Also, I have probably muted the game by this segment because the weather is extremely loud and I am now voicing over. So, alright, just let's see here. I am not dying, which is awesome. I usually only do this in the end portal, but obviously we're not there yet, so this will do. And Nether Star, awesome. Now, I just gotta do that 3 more times, and I will see you in a minute. Alright, my mic disconnected for the last clip, but thankfully it was not very long. So now we have a haste to beacon, which is awesome. I think I definitely want to, like, turn beacons into, like, some sort of power source, but right now I'm just gonna stick it right in the middle of this little plantation here. And just gonna call it a day on the beacon for now. I have 3 of them, so I think what I'm gonna do is put 1 in the mesa and keep 1 just on hand just in case. And I also now have Instamine, which I probably could have used digging out these cliffs, but we're not gonna think about that right now because now we have Instamine, which is awesome. And we are also only halfway through the video, which is unfortunate. Because it feels like I'm doing too many things in this episode, but then I'm like, oh yeah, it was mostly just building cliffs, and I, like, cut out most of that because it was just very repetitive. And I figured you guys wouldn't really want to watch that for, I don't know, 10 minutes. Honestly, same with, like, that kind of farm building. If I'm not actually figuring it out as I'm building it, there's not really a lot of point in watching me do it. You could just go watch a Shulker Craft video to see that farm. It's the same thing. So, only halfway into the video we are, and we have done a whole bunch of stuff. You know what has been looming in our horizon for the past several episodes without me addressing it? Our lovely mothership. Why don't we make those little shuttle bays that I was talking about as our secondary foot entrance? Because it's definitely going to be an Elytra build. The main entrance is going to be through the cargo bay there. But I do always want to make it accessible by foot, obviously, especially since I have no wings right now. So I need it accessible by foot. And I'm going to do that by making 4 little shuttle bays on the side, one of which is going to be open, so that I can come inside. Also, if you guys were invested in the mechanics of the mothership, I actually have kind of changed my idea of that, and maybe I'll talk about that while I'm building the shuttles. Alright, here I am, building some more mothership stuff, and I started with the cargo bays, or the shuttle bays, obviously. Sorry, my brain's on cargo bay because that's what I want to talk about. Is I have decided, screw the windows, the ship does rotate. Thank you. Mic drop, yep. Pet peeve established. We're just gonna go with it. They just have really fast stars, and that's just how it's gonna go. And the thing that then got me thinking is the cargo bay sits in the middle, like directly in the middle, right? So it would probably be the, like, lowest gravity area, which would make a lot of sense because it's, like, has a lot of what I would picture is not an automatic sorting system like we're gonna have in Minecraft, but instead is a place where they just keep, like, supplies, crates, a whole bunch of things that are extremely heavy and hazardous to move around, so it would be really easy if it was the lowest gravity zone. The thing that I do have to compromise on, though, is that unfortunately I can't put stuff on the ceiling and have it work. Because the way that it would work is that, like, if it spins kind of like a paper towel roll, like, if you have, like, one of those paper towel rolls that sits on, like, a holder, right? And you pull paper towel, it spins that way. that's kind of what I'm picturing, which I don't know if that works entirely within the confines of Minecraft, unfortunately, unless I want to completely just decide that the upper portion of the mothership is just not usable. Or, actually, working this out in real time. I could cut this out. I don't think I'm gonna cut this out, because this is kind of interesting, I think. This is what you guys are here for, is me working things out and saying cool things. So, I am thinking now, what if, because I'm talking about that the mothership was where they were living in between, just from contact to building the hab centers, right? So in between that time, they would be living in the mothership. What I'm thinking is that the upper cells of the mothership that would have been stuck stationary, okay, when they're in space, they're locked upside down so that when the ship spins, they experience gravity pushing on them upwards relative to the center of the ship, meaning that they have the same gravity that the people on the quote-unquote bottom do. And with that logic, when you then put it onto a planet like Ganymede, which has its own gravity, because it actually is a very large planet. I think it might actually be bigger than Earth. Let me double check that. Okay, no, I'm wrong, but it's still freaking huge. It's bigger than Mercury. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Because it's like, it is bigger than a planet, right? I think it's bigger than a planet, and that planet is Mercury. Okay, fact-checking aside, what I was saying is that these, like, upper floors rotate on their own. They are independent of the bottom of the ship. And so when they landed in a certain way so that they could then unlock the top 3-ish floors and flip them. So that now they abide by the gravity of the moon instead of the gravity that is generated by the ship. Thinking thoughts. Heck yeah. Alright, I think that's it. That satisfies my pet peeve and satisfies Minecraft. Okay, I'm excited. Alright, I decided to give a little bit of a walkthrough here, and this is our first little shuttle. This one I just designed to be more of like a little escape pod kind of thing. There's 2 beds and a little cockpit thing area. It's really tiny. I don't have much to work with. Maybe I'll throw some mini blocks in there someday. You know, what would actually be really interesting is doing like a whole decorating episode. The next one that I did is on the other side of the hall here. This is more of like a cargo kind of thing, like taking things on and off the ship. This one also has its kind of drawbridge gate closed, just because it was really awkward to try to open that door because behind there's just kind of a hill. And then this is going to be our little module for the hallway, is just imagine this, but like 10 more times. And I added some like little rugs as well, just because I thought that it looked a little bit empty. The halls are going to be decently empty, I think. I might throw some like greenery in here maybe at some point. But right now I'm just going to leave it as is. And I just kind of tried to spice up these walls a little bit going into the staircases. These staircases go downstairs into the kind of like super smelter engine room area. And I am very proud of these doors. They don't actually work, obviously. But they were supposed to be these kind of like cool metal sliding pocket doors with that like circular window. I've got like one of those doors kind of going on Demeter, where I've drawn out that ship. You can see that there's like kind of a circular door for the engine room. That one only would slide one way. This was like some big double doors, but I really like how they worked out. And back up here, I was talking about how we get inside everywhere, and there's 2 more staircases here which go up to where our cargo hold is going to be, which is right in the middle here. And it's also going to be the tallest ceiling as well. And in between, I've just been kind of working on adding in like flooring and stuff. I think I'm just going to kind of crack down on the floor for the first couple layers and then come back to it next episode. And yeah, why don't we make next episode kind of like a little decorating episode? I've been very much considering downloading that like jeez, my words are having trouble today. armor stand mod that like they use on a bunch of different servers. Like the most recent that I've seen it on is Hermitcraft, but I see it on like a whole bunch of servers. And I'm thinking about downloading that and maybe just doing a really fun little detail episode. Just trying to bring the build a little bit more alive here and down on the street as well. Alright guys, I think that is where I'm gonna call it for today. Thank you so much for joining me today with this video. I have made a ton of progress going around the cove and with the mothership as well. As you can see on our map, we've got the beach up there and we have our little orchard. Yeah, I am quite happy with what we've got. And I hope to see you in the next episode where we will be doing a bit more decorating. And actually, wait, before you go, I have something to ask. I don't ask very often, but would you mind subscribing if you like my stuff? That would be really awesome. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.